So good morning. I hope that everybody is fit and welcome to my talk in this little but insightful room. So hi. So the title of the talk is Dynamic Image Optimization with Image Proxy at Schwarz IT. I'm not sure, but the main developer told me that it's called imgproxy, but I find that hard to pronounce with a German accent, but that's why I call it image proxy still. Some words about me. I'm 43 years old, I'm a father of 3, and I'm a Swabian German, and I hope the English works out pretty well. As Thilo already mentioned, I'm passionate for all things powering the modern web. I'm doing IT things for 25 years or so. It started with LAN parties. It was my first contact with Linux, and nowadays I'm running and helping running an own cloud and helped with a big e-commerce site as well. And I'm interested in everything, delivering modern applications to the customer. So the microphone is very near, but I think this works out. My current top title is Site Reliability Engineer at StackIt. I'm doing that part-time and it's complicated, so let's leave that. I'm doing a newsletter, it's a German one, it's called Alles nur geklaut. So you could subscribe if you're interested in topics about cloud, which you hopefully do. And I'm doing a podcast as well, it's called Happy Bootstrapping, where I'm interviewing bootstrapped startups, SaaS companies, e-commerce shops, and everything around that, and it's interesting. You'll find me on Twitter, I still call it that way, at Shakalandi. So, and now some thoughts about Schwarz Group. So you've read Schwarz IT, and everybody is complaining what's Schwarz IT again. So basically we are the Schwarz Group. We are the Europe's largest retailer with the main brands Lidl and Kaufland, which you might finally know. And the Schwarz IT is the IT company behind it. What we're also doing, we are having our own production facilities and recycling facilities. So we are producing water, chocolate, ice cream, and a lot of other stuff, coffee, which is important for IT. We have our own recycling company. It's called Pre-Zero. If you're a fan of Hoffenheim, the football club, we're a sponsor there. We had a total sales of 154 billion euros in 2022, so we're quite large. We have currently, so last communicated figure is, I have to look it up, so 575,000 employees in Europe and in the US, where we're also operating. And the story of the IT is basically similar to what you see here. We're trying to make this whole cycle work for what we need in our stores. So we're producing the stuff for ourselves, we are recycling the stuff we get back, and we're also producing IT. And that way we founded the Schwarz IT in 2019, which was formerly 4 separate IT divisions, and every company did its own stuff. And nowadays we are several thousand IT guys. We have office in Berlin as well, in Barcelona, in Bucharest, and I don't know all locations. So, and yeah, back then there was a project team saying, hey, we need our own cloud as well, because either we have on-premise IT, as you all might know, and we have already done stuff in Azure or have done stuff in Google Cloud, and our top management decided that we want to build our own thing, and this is called StackIt, and the application I'm talking about is running on that one. So, and that's the last marketing slide. So our target image for our internal stuff is that 80% runs in our own cloud, and yeah, I think this is realistic. We'll be leaving 20% of the enterprise stuff, which will run in the enterprise still, because it's not cloud native or not compatible with what we're doing in cloud. So now let's talk about images. That's what we're finally here. Images are everywhere on the web. It's the most important and usually the biggest resource type you have on a website. Let's leave Netflix, YouTube and stuff behind, because we're watching movies or stuff like that. So, but when you're just browsing the web, images are usually the largest element. I have another slide later on where we say it's 42% of all resources when you're browsing a web page. These are some of the images and the goods we produce. I forgot the ice cream, which is also very important. Yeah, and I was giving this talk for quite some time, so for 1 year, 1.5, and I thought, hey, I can't do this again at stackconf, but I visited the conference page, which is the speakers page, and you see when you're looking down here, and it's a bit small, but my browser transferred 35.7 megabytes on the speakers page. Why is that? Yeah, because there are a lot of images on it, and unfortunately, the images are quite large, as you can see here. It's a 5 megabyte image over here, but I guess it's the header. Then Thomas, I guess Thomas is not here. Okay, then he will be my demo object. Thomas' image is 1.7 megabyte, and we have a lot of other images as well, which are pretty large despite the displayed image size. And that's a problem. It's not a problem at all for stackconf webpage because we have 100 visitors, or I don't know how exactly the count is, but on the scale we are working, it's a really big problem. And that's the talk. So, past and present solutions, or why we need dynamic image optimization. The first solution, and I think it's 20 years old, I call it shit in, shit out. And that's the chocolate we also produce. But it's not shit, of course. What have we done in the past? I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. And, but it's also a backend problem, of course. So in the past, we had a CMS. There was an editor. He was uploading an image. Maybe he did it with his phone now. If you're now doing a picture, as you've done, and your application doesn't resize it properly, then you're delivering 16 megabytes of, I don't know how many megapixels the modern phone has. It's a quite large. So, and if another guy has a small camera, it's a 2 megabyte image. So if everyone uploads the image as it comes out from his device or her device, we have a huge variation in size and quality. We came then up with CMS restrictions. Hey, your image needs to be larger than 1200 pixels. So, and then people made workarounds doing that round. Yeah, the other problem we had, we included the metadata. This might not be a big problem, but for John McAfee back then it was a real problem because unfortunately his location was exposed via the iPhone GPS data when he did an interview for Vice magazine. So it's also not good, and metadata also uses some kind of a size. So in total it's a bad user experience to do it, and we need another solution. And of course, it's a bad user experience for us. As we've seen before, there was somebody even renaming the pictures for the conference page and made them 500 pixels, but still the image size is 1.7 megabytes. So just resizing the pixels doesn't work. Yeah, so we see shit in, shit out is still there in, I erased 2022 and 2023. So 15 megabyte per page does not make fun here in a hotel Wi-Fi, for example. It's not much of a problem if you have a fiber connection at home, but here it's a real problem. And when 100 people from the conference are accessing 40 megabytes, it's a lot more than 4 megabytes accessed by 100 people. So we need smaller images. Yeah, we then came up with the, I call it the 42 resolution solutions, and I'm making fun of it because I was part in building a solution like that, so I believe I'm allowed to do that. So what have we done in the modern CMS 10 years ago? We uploaded a source image, and then there was a batch job. It created 42 solutions, resolutions. Oh, there's still a syntax error here. So we created 42 resolutions of the images, and it was a batch job, so it was not live. It was a bad thing for the guy sitting in front of the PC. Hey, I want to have the new images online. Oh, you need to have to wait on the batch job. And you're queued. 142 other images are in the queue in front of you, so you have to wait till tomorrow. It takes a lot of CPU to do that. Everything involving image transformation. It's really, when doing it on scale, it's an interesting challenge. And of course, you have to back up all the different 42 resolutions of the images. it's not much of a problem if you're having 10 images, but if you're having 100 millions of images, then yeah, you have this times 42. So it's on the back end side, it's a real problem. Yeah, and a lot of stuff can go wrong with solutions like that. Yeah, so I said before, why is it important to have proper sized images? Yeah, it's important for the customer experience, like we are, conversion rate, SEO and stuff like that. But in the end, I'm interested in having a nice experience browsing a website, and I'm interested in the financials delivering it when doing it on scale. So there was something which is called WebP, and I'm sure you know it. It's quite ancient, but it's still called a modern image format. It was released 13 years ago. It has a lot better compression than JPEG and PNG, and it's finally supported in Safari since September last year. So it took 12 years to get this modern image format into Safari. Sometimes things take time, but now it's a really widespread format, and you should definitely use it. You can check out on caniuse.com/webp if your browser version is supported, but nowadays every browser should really support WebP. If not, there's a problem in the browser. Yeah, and there's the second format, not that much known. It's called AWIF. It was released 4 years ago, in 2019. It was mainly driven by Netflix. It's planned that it will supersede WebP. It's important when your priority is bandwidth, so it has a lot better compression, but maybe it's visible in size of quality. But I never noticed some guy from marketing always telling, hey, we'll see the difference, that they really have seen the difference, because yeah, it's a really good thing to do. You can check on caniuse.com/awif if it's supported in your browser. Currently, it's not in Safari, for example. And there are other image formats as well, as JPEG 2000 and XL and stuff like that. So, speaking about sizes, so this is a shopping cart image, including products from our stores, and it's 413 kilobyte in JPEG. It's 226 kilobyte in WebP, and it's less than 200 kilobyte in AWIF. So again, it's not that much if you're delivering one image, but let's see the figures. So the first line is the one image and one request I discussed before. The second line is when we are having 10 of these images on a page, it's already 2.26 megabyte versus 4.1. That's not much of a problem. If 10,000 people are accessing this site, we're talking about gigabytes already. If we have 1 million requests per day, per month, we are already in the terabyte scale. If we're having 10 million impressions on the page, we have 40 terabytes already just with images. Yeah. And if you're talking about 100 million requests, which is quite common when you're doing it on larger scale, we're in this scale, 400 terabytes versus 200. So, and when you're using a CDN, you usually use something like Cloudflare or something else, which has a free tier and stuff like that. But let me tell you this, in this scale, there's no free tier available. So it's really important that you either deliver it by yourself, by your own CDN or something like that, or that you really have a good focus on compression. So, imgproxy, this is a carefree solution, and that's why I choose the ice cream. So I have to hurry up a little bit. Imgproxy, or imgproxy, is an open source project, which is developed by the Evil Martians. They now split it out into a separate company. It has 55 features in the open source version. There's a pro version available, or everything regarding security is inside. And there's a really nice demo with the NASA lander on imgproxy.net. And here Andy from the imgproxy team, he's here in case you have some questions. So here are some of the customers, and I think you might know some of them. Of course, you know eBay. Algolia is a search engine. Then here's the Schwartz Group. DevTO is the DevTO blog, which has also 1 million users or so, and they're using it as well. Substack, the newsletter. So it's quite a large project. So imgproxy is really what the name says. It's a proxy. It's proxying images and resizing them on the fly, and you still use need to use an Nginx and Varnish, a CDN or something like that to really have a proxying. We'll see later how we're doing that. And yeah, the main application where we're using that in Schwartz Group is called digital leaflets. It's the thing you have in your post box. We're doing that in every country, but we're now focusing on shifting it to digital because of several reasons. Paper is getting more expensive, environmental stuff, and here a lot of other reasons make sense to do it digital. So we're running it for Kaufland in 7 countries and 34 countries of Lidl. So it's quite a large application. Oh, sorry for that. And we're using and running that in our own cloud. We're using our object storage for PDFs, images. We're using, for example, PDFs. We are delivering PDFs directly. We're using a CDN for images. And what the teams are really doing, there are just 3 developers running that because it's running on a solution called Cloud Foundry, which some might still know. It's one of the runtimes which was also there when Kubernetes started. So, yeah, some figures on what we're doing here. So we have 2 terabytes of source images just with flyers and product images. And this is figures from 1 month. So we're roughly running 5.2 billion requests a month with 751 terabyte of traffic. So just with images, no videos. So it's a quite large and really popular application. And the thing is, you could also jump to the web shop when you're browsing an image. And I hope that we have time for the demo, but it really works like this. We have one source image. You have the overview page of the flyer, and then we make another request basically on the source images with another resolution if you're zooming into a product. So you have a really a bigger view of the product you're interested in, and it really makes sense using that compared to the other solutions I mentioned before. So we have WebP enabled. Alone this one saved us 5 figures each month in CDN costs. We are now in the process of doing the same for AWIF as well, but it's a bit more complicated because of the browser compatibility I mentioned before. Yeah, this data, I think it was from June, so it's pretty recent, and yeah, that's fun. So we're running that on Cloud Foundry. That's what I said before. It's a much more lightweight alternative to Kubernetes. Was developed by Pivotal, but it somehow lost this cloud native war, or really lost, I'm not sure. I really like it, and we have some or several applications running on it which have a pretty decent workload, and I just run by 2 or 3 developers. I'm not sure if you can run a multi-million user application in Kubernetes with just 2 developers, but with this it's working, and what they really enjoy is that we have some integrated services like MariaDB, Redis, RabbitMQ and stuff like that, and that it has a simple autoscaling, and that's important for this application because we usually release these flyers 2 times a week, on Sunday and on Wednesday night. So because the new offerings in the stores are on Monday and Thursday, so there's a big demand when the new flyers go out, depending on what the users are browsing, and then 4 weeks later, nobody watches the images from 4 weeks ago, or at least some do. But and that's why we really have fun with this auto-scaling thing. And this is something I wanted to show you. This is the easy auto-scaling configuration you have in Cloud Foundry. We have a minimum instance of 2. We have a maximum instance of 50. We are looking after CPU. If the CPU breaches 60% threshold, we add 2 instances. Yeah, that's basically scaling up. That's what everybody does. And this is the important thing, scaling down, because we want to also save money in CPU. And this basically says if the CPU drops under 5% over 60 seconds, we remove one instance. And that's the simple autoscaling metric of Cloud Foundry, and we really enjoy that. This is, for example, a screenshot from the portal where we have a productive setup with 5 minimum instances and 100 maximum. It's the same configuration, but we add 10 instances, so we are pretty aggressive on autoscaling and passive on downscaling, but we're really doing it. So you can see this one on the next screenshot where we see, hey, this is an autoscaling event from 2 to 5. And here it's going down slowly from 13 to 12, 14 to 13, and it takes some time, like 3 to 4 minutes. And there was another event coming in over here where we increased 10 instances, and it takes 20 seconds or so, and then these instances are available. And this goes all around the time, up to 100 instances. So, and we really enjoy that. So I would now go on to the demo. I think we still have some time, right? Are there any questions already? So I said before that I would like to use this page for the demo, and I hope the Wi-Fi works. As you see, it's already loading slowly, so I hope. But I'm in the conference Wi-Fi, right? Yes. No, 1 second. So I was in the hotel. This one is for the conference. So it's a bit faster now, but you still can see that the images are loading slowly. So is anybody of the other speakers here in the room? I will choose his picture. I will use mine. But mine is already compressed. So this one is still loading. Let's take this one. Doesn't even load. Why not? Okay. So we can see here now that this image has a size of 1.35 megabyte. Yeah. And it's just 500 pixels, right? So what we're now doing, I have an instance ready where we can just... So imgproxy usually has a salting mechanism. We're now skipping that one for demo purposes. But if you're using it in production, you definitely should use it. So what I'm doing here, I'm just passing the image URL over to imgproxy. And it's a default configuration where we have WebP and AWIF enabled as default. So if the browser detects that my client is able to do it, then it will deliver it that way. And then we can see that we have a 60 kilobyte image. And it's delivered as AWIF, so that's the content type here, because in my case, Brave, the browser, it sends an accept header for WebP and also for AWIF, so imgproxy knows, hey, I can deliver an AWIF image with that. So to be honest, I prepared Thomas, but he's not here. I said it before. Thomas' picture is this one. And I didn't choose him because of the Google logo, but so as you can see, it's 1.7 megabyte. And we're really doing this now on the fly. So I'm using his image, going back to the imgproxy. And because I'm doing the first request, it takes some time, so it's 140 kilobyte now. What we also can do with Thomas is that we can, for example, we can resize his image on the fly. So now it's 120 pixels. We can do it like that. Then it, oh, did I miss it? 500. Can I see? I messed it up. 1 second. You should just do copy and pasting when you're doing live demos. So this is a 520 kilobyte image. What we also can do, we can change the quality of the compression. So for example, this is quality 1, which does not make sense because you can't even read the Google logo. And what imgproxy also does, so this is just the basic functionality. For example, a friend of mine, they have a photo booth company where they are, we don't have a photo booth here, but you can basically click on the screen, take your picture of you, and usually it's bought or rented when you're on a wedding. And imgproxy also has a face detection feature. It's included in the free version, and they are displaying all the wedding photos in a mobile app and using imgproxy for that. So, and all the pictures of the people, they are really automatically centered on their faces, which is a pretty nice thing. And it's also included in the free version. So do I have anything else in the demo? I don't think so. So as we already have AWIF and I have 2 minutes left, I can show how we're doing it on the Lidl page, for example. And I hope it works now. But it usually does. So this is, for example, our current flyer. And it's now loading an overview page. It's still slow here. And when I'm, this now not seeing because of the resolution, but when I'm zooming in, so there's the request down here, where we reloaded the same image again of the same flyer. And basically we just store one original image and have several different resolutions of the image available. We're now using it as well for product images. For example, but not in the online shop already, but for this one. So when you're seeing here the Deutsche Spitzkohl, which I don't like, it's also an URL coming from our lovely proxy. And if the URL is scrambled, it looks like this. So you can see here in the top that this is a scrambled URL by hash. So I cannot DDoS the system. For example, if I now want to basically trigger multiple resizes or so, this does not work because it's forbidden in that case. I'm not sure why it's not centered, but yeah, that's basically the story on imgproxy and how we're using it, and that we are pretty happy with it. Now my time is running. And the key takeaways: don't reinvent the wheel. Imgproxy is really nice. I've seen developers doing image resizing by themselves, so it's a solution already there. You definitely should check WebP and AWIF if you're not using it already, and use autoscaling and descaling, and descaling is important, and check out imgproxy. That's it from my side. I have some Stack IT socks and merchandise if somebody wants. I have them also here. I'm also available for talks later on. If you have any questions, that would now be the time.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you very much for this great talk.
Thanks.
One quick question.
Yes.
When did you start using imgproxy, and which was like a key metric to see like, oh, now we need to scale down or the images?
That's a good question. So I think I started. So it started in the photo booth company I mentioned 3 or 4 years ago, and then I brought it into Schwartz Group basically from an experiment, and we really had this 42 resolutions thing running on an expensive enterprise CMS, and it does not have this functionality. And then we started bringing it over, I think 3 years ago, shortly after I discovered it. So I need to check the figures, to be honest. But what's also nice, we did. So the application was running in a co-location data center before, and it's now running on Stackit. And we also used imgproxy for the migration, because you can have multiple origins. Like you've seen, I've pasted the URL. You can have S3 as a backend file, HTTP, and we had the old backend where the origin, the old images were stored, and the new ones. And the user didn't realize we just changed the origin to Stackit, and imgproxy was fetching the images from the old origin and the new one, and it was also a nice thing for doing a migration. So it took 2 months, and then everything was running on the new infrastructure. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions? Let me. Wait a second. Yes. No.
Like this.
Yeah.
Yes.
That looks interesting.
Come to my seat and you will see it's even more interesting.
Okay.
So actually it's a trade-off. You are trading off like storage costs for CPU costs, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which means that if you do it on the fly,
Yeah.
there should be like higher latency.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the first, yeah, but that's what I mentioned in the side sentence. So you still need to have a caching in place.
That was my
For
second
example,
question.
you can have a simple Nginx, or you can have a varnish, or you can have a CDN. So we are now even thinking about delivering some of the images without CDN, because it's not directly e-commerce traffic, and it saves you really a lot of money again. And basically what we're doing with this one, we are even pre-warming the URLs.
Yeah, okay.
And because it's really the case that it's accessed at 12:30 in the night by several people, let's call it like that. And that's important to have a pre-warming.
Yeah, okay.
But it still really scales this way. So we had times when we have 60, 70 instances running, and 10 minutes later they're all gone, because everything is in cache, or somebody links an old leaflet and then it gets recached because it went out of cache. Depends on what happened. But you need to have a cache, otherwise your CPU may die.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Oh, back there.
Hello. Hey. Yeah, so you compared, was it JPEG and AVIF? Have you done any comparison with JPEG XL?
There's also JPEG 2000.
Yes.
To be honest, no. Because of what? At some point you need to stick to what you believe in will be getting the standard. And I believe, or we believe, that it's WebP and AVIF, but you never know what happens in the browser. So we did a rough comparison, but I guess it's not included. Is it included in the Pro version? Do you know that? No. JPEG XL. I think it's also a licensing issue. So no, I don't think it will be. Do you think so, that it will be worth it?
Do I think so?
Yeah.
Well, it kind of goes back to the question, the previous question about compute versus compression.
Yeah.
I think AVIF is quite heavy on compute, but obviously
That's right.
much smaller for compression.
Yeah.
And from what I've seen several months ago from Jake Archibald was that JPEG XL looks very promising in terms of being less resource intensive and still producing similar results, but it is lagging in support compared to AVIF. So yeah, it's hard to say. I just wasn't sure if you had any.
It's a trade-off. That's but I can go to the slow Wi-Fi again, and we really can see the difference in taking the AWIF compression, it really takes much more time than the WebP. So really, and you have seen the difference of 220 to 196 kilobyte. It strongly depends on the images you are delivering. Are they having the same background? Is it always a different one? So it's hard to make a general assumption.
Yeah, it seems like very much an it depends situation or case by case for the users or I guess customers, company.
Yeah. Thanks for the question.
Thank you.
Huh? That's great.
You can throw it around.
Yeah, you can play catch. Somebody catch? Questions? Otherwise, he will be around at the conference and is open for questions anytime, I guess.
And beers as well.
Thank you very much again.
Thank you.
And yeah.